I'll put this nice and down. Okay. Let's get up nice and close to the microphone. Moving things around, making sure I sound pretty good. Just going to prepare for things. I really do need to get a different desk for this. I'm going to get one soon. Okay. So let's take a quick look and see how we are going. Okay, so am I coming in nice and loud? Hopefully I am. Let me just have a quick listen. Okay, I am. Perfect. Cool. Let's move this a bit there, there. All right, perfect. All right, I'm coming in nice and loud, which is great. I really do need a second monitor. No, third monitor, I think. Fourth monitor. How many monitors? 1,000 monitors. That's how many. Okay. All right, perfect. We might as well just jump straight in. Just chuck a question in the comments. I'll do my best to keep on top of things. I do promise. And we just might as well get into it because I assume everything's loaded up. I'm not going to go through absolutely every single platform. Just for people who don't know, if you want the most stable platform, head over to YouTube. That's probably the best. Okay. I think things are looking good. Got an itchy nose. And last but not least, everything's looking pretty good here. Okay. Let's smash it out. All right, cool. So I need to start screen recording and let me just... Where is this? Record that screen, and I'm going to select the right mic this time because last time I selected the wrong mic when I recorded in Camtasia. 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh, cool. And this I can switch over to this one. All right, perfect. All right. Well, we might as well get started. All right, perfect. I think that's it. I think that is it. There's no other. Let me just have a quick look through my details. No. All right, cool. All right, let's get this party started. All right. So hello and welcome to this live stream on converting addresses over to coordinates. And tonight, I'll show you how to use a few powerful modules to go from an address, so where you put in a postal address, all the way to longitude and latitude data, which then you can use to create maps and display location data in very specific ways. We're going to be looking at 4 modules to handle this. Now, Drupal has this big ecosystem when it comes to managing this type of stuff, and there are a lot of modules out there. And so I've chosen the 4 that I've used in the past that do work, but there are a bunch of mapping tools. Well, there are a few mapping tools, but when it comes to managing your actual location data, There is one or two major ones, and that's Geofield, let's be honest. In Drupal 7 days, it used to be, in Drupal 6, I believe, there was location module, which was good because it was a nice packaged solution. You could just put everything together and it just worked. Whereas now you do it the Drupal way, and I do that in air quotes, where you have to kind of build out your own system. You need to specify a specific address field, and then you need to create a Geofield, and then you need to use Geocoder to then for them to talk and this and that. But I will take you through a basic setup of that tonight. So if you always wanted to know how do I handle location data in Drupal, well, this stream is for you. Yeah, that kind of sounded a little too salesy. Anyway, so let's quickly go through the modules that we will cover. Now, the first one will be address. Address is a module that was developed for Drupal commerce that allows you to track and store addresses in a standard way, following a specific standard. So you can see that the data model will have given name, additional name, family name, organization, address 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. Now, this was developed, as I mentioned, for Drupal commerce just to kind of standardize addresses. Because yes, you can create a text field and chuck in your addresses in there, but then how do you convert that then into location data? That's where it gets a little tricky. So to store our actual physical addresses, we're going to use this module. Then to store our actual location data, we're going to be using a Geofield. Now, this is kind of the de facto standard when it comes to managing location data in Drupal. Now, somebody might come in and say, well, no, technically there is this other module. There probably is, but when it comes to my experience has been, how many installs does this have? 62,000, and it's up to date. This to me is the de facto way of handling location data in Drupal. And this just allows you to store it using longitude and latitude. There are some other different widgets that you can use. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of it, details, but just think of it as Geofield stores the location data. Then to kind of glue everything together, we need to convert that address. So the physical address where it's like 123 Fake Street, Springfield, or whatever that is from The Simpsons, over to a longitude and latitude. And this is where Geocoder comes in. Now, this module is a wrapper for the Geocoder PHP library, which is actually pretty huge. Believe it or not, there is a whole library system out there outside of Drupal, and this just integrates it all together. So you can use a bunch of Geocoder APIs. So the most common, of course, is Google Maps, but you need to pay for that. There is OpenStreetView, and originally when I was preparing this stream, I was just going to do Google Maps, but then when I was practicing, I was like, you know what? Let me do OpenStreetView because that one doesn't actually require an API key, whereas Google Maps does. And the other issue was, well, I'm live streaming this. How do I hide the API key? Because I need to copy it in. But I figured out how to restrict it. So if you see any API keys, you won't be able to use them because they are restricted in certain ways to just my computer. And also I will be removing it after the live stream as well. So we're going to be using Geocoder to kind of convert the address over to an actual longitude and a latitude. And then finally, we're going to display all our data using a Geofield Map. Now, when it comes to mapping in Drupal, this is where you have a lot of modules. There's leaflets. There used to be a few of them, but I don't know if there's a link here. But leaflet was a popular one, and I just couldn't cover everything in this video. Maybe I'll do a future video where we focus more on listing out stuff in views. But for now, just remember that Geofield integrates nicely with the Geofield module. So a Geofield map integrates nicely with Geofield. And as far as I'm aware, it only supports Google Maps. I had a quick looked at the code. I can only see Google Map functionality. So we do have to chuck in an API key for that. I'm not going to cover how to set up an API key. because there's tons of stuff on how to do that using Google Cloud. And it was a bit of a pain, let's be honest. Maybe I'll do a separate video, like a standalone video where I can blur things out, because there was just too much just data that's going to be shown in the process. And maybe I'll cover that in a separate video. One of those videos where you record and edit them and not do them live. That's the thing that I'm finding a bit tricky sometimes. It's like, I want to do so much, but it's all live and people will see a lot of things. Anyway, so with that, let's jump straight into things. And what we're going to do is start off with address field. So, as I mentioned, address field allows you to store postal information in Drupal in a standardized way. If you scroll right down to the bottom, you can grab the Composer command. It supports the latest Drupal 11, which as of this recording is the latest version of Drupal. So just grab this Composer command. I've already downloaded it, so I will jump over to my awesome Drupal site. It's just a basic installation. And I'll search for address, and I'll just install the address field. Oh, sorry, the address module, which gives us the address field, because in Drupal 7, there used to be a module called address field. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a basic content type called company. And we're just going to add in the address module, address field on that. And we're going to just build out this content type. Other than just adding in 2 fields, that's pretty much just a content type. So click on add content types, add content type, and I'll call this one company. And we'll leave body as it is, pretty basic. And what we're going to do now is click on create a field, and you should see address here on the right-hand side. If you can't see it, make sure the module's installed. If you can't see it after the module's installed, make sure you clear the cache. And I'll give this a label of just address. Keep it simple. The module comes with 3 different field types: address, country, and zone. Honestly, I've never really used zone or country. It just allows you to specify a zone or a country. Address is the one that I've used the most. So let's go ahead and enable that one. And you can specify which country you want to allow, and then all the properties. Let's just leave everything as it is because I want to show you what it looks like. Click on Save Settings. And let's open up a new tab, go to Add Content and our company, and you should see this address field right here. If you click on it, you can see all of the available countries because we have allowed everything. So if I select, say, Australia, it will automatically give us a form which should follow the Australian standard for addresses. Because remember, every single country has their own address format. And if I click on state, I can see all the Australian states. If I switch this over to, say, the United States, you will see a different type of setup. You'll say zip code instead of postal address, and you get all the states there as well. You do get first name, last name, organization. I most of the time remove those unless you're using them specifically for shipping. And, but yeah, you can remove them if you want. All right, we've got our first hello in YouTube. Hey, man. Hello. I will reply back. That's pretty good. All right. Getting some bit of community feeling. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. So the first thing you will do often with this stuff is you would clean this up because you may not need all the fields. And the other thing is you may want to control which countries appear here, because as you can see, there are a lot of countries. So for the sake of simplicity, let's go into here and I'll just allow Australia, and I will then here in property, if you take a look here on the right-hand side, hopefully my head isn't covering it. No, it's not. You can see that we have first name. Let's make it hidden. You can make it, again, optional, hidden or required, hidden, hidden, hidden. You can make these required if you want, and you can override this default settings. And then let's click on save. All right. Now, if we go in here and click on that, you'll see we have a country, select it, and now we just have the address details. Technically, I should be able to get rid of probably the third address field here, street address. But I'll leave it in there. So let me just chuck in an address. So I'll call this 123 Pitt Street, Sydney. I do know this actually goes to an address. Well, all right, company 1. And I want them to be nice and close to each other. Okay. Now, we've created a piece of content, we've added an address in, and it simply displays it in a formatter. Pretty simple, okay? All we've done is we've created the content type, added the address field, and that is it. Now what we need to do is let's add in Geofield. So if we go here, Geofield is used to store location data in a longitude or latitude or in a specific data type. Scroll all the way down to the bottom and grab this composer command. As you can see, it's pretty up to date and it supports the latest version of Drupal as of this recording. And I've already downloaded it. So let me jump over into my site and I'll search for Geofield. You can see there are a few here, but let's just focus on Geofield. Just ignore the rest of them for now. Just focus on Geofield and let's install this one. Give that a second to do whatever it has to do. And then if we go back into our Manage Fields page, click on Add Field, you should see this Geofield right here on the right-hand side. If we click on it, click on Create, and you can call this whatever you want. You can call it location data, longitude and latitude. I like to just call it location data. And just keep everything as it is. You can change this later on and save it. Now, if we go into our company, you will have a longitude and latitude. Now, you can just chuck in a longitude and latitude here and use a mapping tool to then display that information. But what we want to do is we want to convert this address over to a longitude and latitude. And this is where we need to use a third-party service. So let me open up my tabs here. To achieve this, we are going to use Geocoder. Now, Geocoder is a Drupal module, which is a wrapper for the Geocoder PHP library. So if I take a look here, this is a very popular library. You can see that it's got nearly 4,000 stars on GitHub, a lot of downloads, and this integrates with a lot of platforms. So here you have all of these providers. Google Maps is the most popular. You can see here with the downloads. So you can see here, where is it? Google Maps, 12 million downloads. That's probably monthly. But then the other one which is popular is OpenStreetMap. So that is a free version. And the good thing about OpenStreetMap is that it doesn't require an API, whereas Google Maps does. And you have to go through the whole process and create an API. And I don't know if it's actually free. I think if you use like a tiny amount, it is free. Or you need to put like a billing address or something in there. I don't. Yeah. Now, I'm not going to cover how to set up Google Map API because that's a whole video in itself, but you can just Google it, no pun intended, Google how to create a Google Maps API and Google Maps API key, and you could probably find some decent information on the internet about that. But the first thing we're going to do is first download it. And I've already downloaded it, so head over to this project page, download the module. And what we also need to do, and while we're here, let me just make sure I've got my terminal opened up. We need to download a few providers. So let's start off with, we'll start off with the simplest one, and that is OpenStreetMap. And you need to grab this composer command. Well, I should show you here. So grab, where is it? Website. Well, if you go to the actual GitHub page, you can grab this composer command right here. So grab this composer command and then throw it into your Drupal site and download it. Now, this is just the library. It doesn't download the module. This is separate to the Drupal module. And what we need to do is go back to extend, and we need to search for Geocoder. But there are a few things we need to install. So we need to install Geocoder address, because that integrates Geocoder with the address module. Then we need to install Geocoder Geofield, because that integrates Geocoder with Geofield. See, I do kind of miss the days where we just had the location module and it just did everything for you. This is where things can get a little tricky. Now, you may be watching, the astute viewer may be watching and saying, whoa, but what about this Geocoder field module? Well, that's actually a dependency, so that's going to get installed no matter what. There you go. So let's install all of these. And it's just going to be easier to just install them all at once, because what you do is, as you're building this out, you like install a module and you're like, well, how do I integrate this and this together? Oh, I have to install another module. How do I integrate this and this together? Oh, I need to install another module, and so on and so forth. All right. So if we go into our manage fields and click on location data, so let's edit this one and scroll all the way down, you should see this geocode field set. If you can't see it, clear the cache. I had this problem, okay? So you may need to clear the cache if you can't see it. Then you have geocode method. No geocoding, of course, means nothing's going to happen. Then you have geocode from an existing field. What we can do is, remember, we are on location data, so we want to geocode from an existing field. The geocode from an existing field dropdown, you should see address. If you can't see address, then make sure you install the Geocoder address module. So if we uninstall Geocoder address module, which is a submodule, you won't see the address field in there because that integrates it. Then if you scroll down, you will get a warning saying you have to set up a provider. So let's go ahead and do that. That's pretty straightforward. So from this dropdown, and you can access all of this just by going to configuration, Geocoder. You have a few options here, such as caching. You click on providers and click on a dropdown. You should see OpenStreetMap. If you can't see it, make sure you've downloaded the library using Composer. Very important. And you may also have to clear the cache as well. So let's add that in. I do believe that you need to do a few things here. So, all right, let's chuck this in. So that is, and you need to put in your URL. So what I'll do, well, let me just chuck in without the port. And finally, I'll put in a referrer. Maybe it does something on the server side to make sure these referrers are correct. Okay. So the root URL, this is where it's pointing to. The agent should be Drupal, and then you put in your URL, and then the value of the referrer header is this. I do believe I need to probably put in this. Anyway, if not, we can change it. Then you do have other options as well. And you hit save. Now, if we go back into here, and let's select address, we then can select our actual provider. Now, you can have multiple providers. You can have multiple providers. And when we do add in the Google Maps one, it will be there as well. But let's just leave everything as it is. You do have a few options here, such as skip geocode or reverse geocode. You can do that. You can convert a longitude and latitude to an address. You can also disable field in the content edits form or hide it. I like to keep it open while I'm testing it out because you want to remove it. You want to remove the location data because then you have issues such as if there's data already in there, then it won't try and convert it. And then if you scroll down, you want to also log the failures and also show a status warning of a geocode failure. And then if it does fail, what's going to happen? Is it going to preserve the existing information? All right, so let's click on save. And now let's see it all work. Now, remember at this point, we are using OpenStreetMap. So this is all free, which is great. Let's go to content. Well, I'll open up a new tab. Let's go to company one, edit this. And if we click on save, we should see a longitude and latitude. There you go. We can now see it. It's automatically converted. And I do know this is Sydney because this is what the long and lat start with. So you can see that it works nicely there. Now, if we save, this shouldn't ping the API again unless you change the address or you remove this stuff, and then it will. Well, it might cache it. So that is how you can use Geocoder with OpenStreetMap. Now let's use Google Maps for the Google Map way. And this is where you will see an API key, but I have restricted the API key to just my machine. So you won't be able to use it, and it will be deleted after the fact as well. This is the thing I was kind of struggling about. How do I actually do a live stream when I have to show keys and API keys? Anyway, let's do it. All right, so let's go back here. And let's go to Google Maps, and let's just grab, where is the composer command? Let's just grab this composer command and chuck this one in there. We go to our provider, refresh, we should see in the drop-down, we should see Google Maps, but we can't see it. Why is that? Because it is cached. Yes, it is cached. So let's go ahead here, clear the cache. Refresh, and you can see here, Google Maps and Google Maps Business. Just select Google Maps and let's click on add. And here you have an API key. Now let's just chuck in a fake key and I'll show you how to debug things first of all. So if we put in a fake key there, and let's add this to our data. And if we come along in here and refresh, well, you will get an error telling you unable to geocode. Now, if you go to reports, recent log message, you should see this error right here. API access denied, and it gives you an actual path that you should be able to chuck this into the browser. So this is a good way of actually just checking to see why things have failed. Now let's put in a proper key. So let's edit this. And what I'll do is I will grab in a key, chuck it in there. Come along in here, fresh. Should see the key somewhere here. Yep, perfect. Cool. All right, save. And if we come back to here, let's edit this. And if we click on save, it's going to give us a longitude and latitude. So now it's gone ahead and converted the address into a longitude and latitude. And that was using Google Maps. Now, sometimes you will get failures. So that's why I want to show you just how to actually debug it, because things are great when everything is working, but then how do you actually debug these things? This is where things get a little tricky sometimes, you know. You really need to think about, okay, well, it needs to be debugged. So when it comes to the geocoding aspect, that's pretty much it. You download the module, then you use the wrapper, then you use those wrapper plugins or wrapper libraries to then integrate with third-party services. And then Geocoder is in charge of grabbing the data from a text field or an address field, converting it to a longitude and latitude, and then storing it into a geo field, because that's how it's been configured. Now that we have all this data, let's go ahead and actually display things on a map. To do that, we're going to be using Geofield Map. So Geofield Map allows you to display location data through a formatter, so a field formatter, and my favorite and most importantly, through views. Because if you can't do it through views in Drupal, then what's the point of using Drupal, I say? If you want to learn more about the module, just head over to the project page. As you can see, there's a lot. There's a lot here. And make sure you download the latest version, and it supports Drupal 11 and it's been updated recently, which is great. I've already downloaded it. So what I'll do is I will go to extend and search for Geofield Map and install it. And in the meantime, let me quickly create some extra companies. So give me a moment. What is it? All right, let's just quickly add in some extra companies. This should work. Yes, longitude and latitude, perfect. And the last one, let me just refresh this. Company 3. And this one will be George Street, Sydney. All right, there we go. Do we have a longitude and latitude? Yes, we do. All right. First, I'll show you how to display a map using a field formatter, because right now it's displaying the location data. Not that useful, longitude and latitude. It's not that user-friendly. What if we could display this information using Google Maps? That's what I want to show you right now. So to do that, let's go to our content type and then click on Manage Display. And from the location data field, you should see Geofield Google Map. If you can't see it, make sure the module is installed. And this is the Geofield Map module. Make sure it's installed. And what we need to do is put in our key here as well. So what I'll do is I'll chuck it in there. And you do have a lot of options here. I'm not going to cover them all because there's a lot of configuration. Well, not there. Let's go back here. Google Map. Then click on the cogwheel. Yeah, here we go. You have a lot of options here. You can, how to handle empty results, default zoom. All right, let's set this to, what is it, 16? That's a bit better. And you can set the icons. And this is, remember, just to display the one icon on a map. Or you could technically display a group of icons. Click on update. Click on save. And now if we refresh, we should see a nice map. There you go. Pretty cool. So if we go back into here, so things you may want to adjust. Width and height. That's one thing. The default center, the start zoom. Now by default, if it's set to 2, scroll all the way down, click on update, click on save. If it's set to 2, it's not that useful, okay? So you want to set it to like 16 and, and above. Let's just set that back. Where is that? 16. Not 20. 16. Let's set it to 16. All right. Then if we refresh, we have that right here. You can even control what appears in the pop-up as well. And you can do that by, again, going back into the formatter, editing it by clicking on the cogwheel and then scrolling down. Scroll down. And then adding stuff here. Controlling the marker info window content. So you can specify a specific field, or you can even give it a rendered entity. So you could create, I believe you could give it, create a custom view mode called info window, and then just specify it and say, I want that to appear, which is pretty useful. So there's a lot you can do here. There is a lot you can do. All right, so that is how you can display a map using the formatter. Now let's look at how to use views to display a map. And this will then display multiple pieces of content on a single map. Now, to do all of this, let's close off a few tabs, go to structure, views, and click on add view. And I'll call this one map. You can call it whatever you want. And then let's select company. So it only displays company. And let's just leave everything as it is for now and just click on save and edit. This should display 3 companies. Perfect, okay? So now we're just doing basic site building when it comes to views. If this is the first time you're using views, well, just ignore the pretty hectic UI. I do have a separate video on views. If you want to learn more about it, go ahead and learn more about it. But just follow along because, the views UI can be pretty full on if you're not used to it. All right, so the first thing we need to do is let's switch over to fields and then click on format, and you should see Geofield Google Map and click on apply. Now, the first message you're going to get is that we need to add in at least one geofield to the actual view, because remember, that's how the map will be displayed using that information right there. Click on add, and then simply add in your location field. So the geofield that, that you created. Then go back into settings. And this is important. You need to specify the data source. So you need to tell views the longitude and latitude is stored in this field. And then you have similar settings as you do on the formatter. You can select a whole bunch of stuff, and let's change this zoom level to probably 15. And you can see that, yeah, you can control, oh, you do have these extra options. I really haven't played around with it with this stuff, but you do have that option right there. And the info window is where you can do a few extra fancy things, which is pretty cool. And then scroll all the way down and click on apply. Click on save. And now if we open this up in a new tab, so go to /map, we should see, there you go, our location data. We've got ones close to each other. And then we've got one all the way down here. Oh, that's down in the rocks. Okay, interesting. Okay, we've got one all the way down there. And then if you click on it, it takes you to the actual company. All right. Now, modifying the actual info window can be done in multiple ways. So if we go back here, one hacky way of quickly doing it, which I'll show you, is let's imagine we want to display the title, authored on, and created date. What you could do is, first of all, put in the authored on and authored by. Let's uncheck the for authored by. Let's uncheck the link, and for the authored on, which is the date. Now it can be a little confusing. Authored by, authored on. Authored by is the actual user that authored the piece of content. Authored on, I was going to say authored by. Authored on is when it was actually created. Then let's put in a short date. And what we want to do is group all of these together. So if we search for, what is it, custom? Yeah, custom text, that's what I want. Click on add. And what I need to do is oh yeah, that's down at the bottom. All right, done. And what we can do is chuck in this, and I'll call this one, I'll give this a B tag, because I'm old school. And then put in a break tag. And let's italicize it. And this will be by. So the by, and then put in a pipe. No. On, then the created. And there we go. There we go. Look at that. Click on apply. Oh, I think we do need to save it. If we scroll down, no, you still can't see it. That's weird. Oh, yes. Now we need to go back into settings and then scroll all the way down to the marker info window. And instead of title, select custom text. So this is the custom text field which we created. Click on apply, click on save. And if we look in the preview, it should work. There we go. We can see the actual company name, and this has been by admin on such and such date. Then if we come along here and refresh, we should see over here as well, company name, and there you go. You have the by the admin, which is me, and then on a specific date. Now you can take things one step further. If we create a new view mode, now we're going to do a bit of site building, click on display modes, view modes, and let's create a new view mode called info window and add this to company. And if we configure it for company, what we can do is, well, let's actually, oh, this is a bit annoying. I need to disable it. How do I disable it if I can't? It's too big. All right, so what we need. Oh, all right, let's disable. Okay, so that's a bit of a issue right there. So if we go back up here, add this one, it actually makes it very difficult. Can you? It actually makes it very difficult to disable. So what you need to do is switch it over to one of these options and then just move it. Okay. All right. So what we've done here is let's put in links. Actually, let's leave that. So body, let's leave the address. Yeah. Okay. I like that. I like that. And what we can do is, well, actually, let's put a trimmed version. There we go. We're being smart here. We're being smart. Let's trim it to 100. Save that. Then go to content. Chuck in some test content. That's just me banging on a keyboard. I just want any type of content. And click on save. All right. Go back into views. And what we're going to do is click on settings. And now we should see. So we have rendered node entity. And from the drop down, we have info window. Click on save. Refresh. And this should, oh, nice, displays company name by, then our summary, and then the actual address. Now, I do believe that this, let me just zoom in so we can all see, this should be displaying the actual twig, the actual template. Now, before we do that, let's turn on twig debugging so we can see the actual template. Because it's probably pulling in the node template. Why isn't this showing? Oh, okay. It's not going to show me that information. No, I can't actually see. Why can't I see anything? Oh, need to clear the cache. Well, actually, let's just disable markup caching. Let's refresh that again. I'm just making rookie mistakes left, right, and center. There we go. Not clearing the cache. Not clearing the cache. All right, so you can see here, it is pulling. Oh, nice. Is that new? That little emoji tick box? Cool. So you can see here that it is using the node template. So you can then override that, and you could essentially override a template and say, well, I want this to be node company info window, and so on and so forth, and you can then you can go ahead and modify it. So as you can see, you do have a lot of control. You have a lot of control. Now, of course, when it comes to displaying map data, there are some pretty crazy setups where you can automatically update the left-hand side and things like that. With a listing of content, I do know a few travel sites where you can see a listing of content. You click on it and it opens up Google Maps. If your website, and this is where I sometimes I'm kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, because we have so many good front end libraries. If your website wants some epic, fancy looking mapping functionality, it may be better and quicker and easier to use Drupal just to store the information, expose it as JSON, and then use a front-end application and then just embed it into your Drupal site that loads up a whole map and everything's handled by React or Vue or insert whichever popular JavaScript framework appears. That's probably the best way of doing it, because then that gives you the most flexibility. You can build out some pretty interactive stuff, because trying to build out very dynamic stuff with Drupal can be a little tricky. Like, yes, it's very quick to get something basic like this, but then as soon as you want to do the last 20%, so I often like to say Drupal gets you 80% there in 20% of the time, but the last 20% can take you 80% of the time. Well, actually, I've I think I've said it differently before. Drupal gets you 95% of the way there in 5% of the time, but the last 5% can take you 95% of the time to actually finish things. So that's where, yeah, Drupal's fast, don't get me wrong, but depending on your requirements, if you do require um, very custom bespoke functionality when it comes to mapping, it may be better to do that purely through the front end and you just use Drupal as a back end, because we have all this awesome front end functionality available, so you might as well utilize it. So that's pretty much it. Okay, let's now summarize everything that we've covered and go through the modules one final time and cap off a great night. And then I need to go delete all the API keys. Unless somebody's already grabbed it, used it, hacked it, and I've got a $10,000 bill now. We'll see. So we looked at using the address module. Now this module gives you a field type where you can store postal addresses. Then we used Geofield to store location data. We used Geocoder, which is a wrapper for the Geocoder PHP library, which will grab that postal data, geocode it, convert it from a postal address into longitude and latitude that Google Maps or any type of mapping system can understand. And then it is stored in the geofield. And we looked at how to integrate open data. No, what is it? OpenStreetMap and Google Maps. And then finally, we implemented Google Maps by installing the Geofield map module, which allowed us to display a map through a formatter, and we were able to use the module to display a group of location data in a single Google map using views. So if you want to handle location data, these 4 modules are your go-to module. But as I just previously mentioned, when it comes to actually displaying the data in a fancy map, it may be better to, I don't know, do it all through the front end, but still use Drupal to store it. So you would still use address field, geofield, and geocoder to kind of manage it all, but then pull out that information and display it. You know what? That is a good topic for a future video. I first of all need to go find whatever the fancy mapping tools, or the fancy front-end mapping tools. I need to learn those. So that could be a future video. Anyway, well, that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about Drupal, just head over to webwash.net and also other CMSs. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment. And don't forget that all our live streams are recorded and available on our YouTube channel. So just head over, just Google WebWash YouTube. I haven't put all the videos on the actual WebWash site because I have been a little lazy in creating the actual show notes blog post, because that does take a lot of time. But I've just been trying to get these live streams out on a weekly basis now that I've got my setup set up now and I'm back from holidays. So if you have any ideas for future videos, please let me know. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment. Anyway, that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. Okay, so how was that? Let's transition back to here. I hope everyone had a great session. I'm just checking out things, making sure things are still working. Yes, they are. So any questions before we finish up? All right. Well, let's just finish things up. And what I'll do is I'll make sure I delete these keys. Wait, where is it? How do I delete these keys? How do I delete these keys? No. Yes, delete, 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 delete. Oh, interesting. You have to put in the word, you have to put a confirmation word, which is delete. Now, I was serious when I said that when it comes to managing actual creating fancy mapping tools, sometimes it is better just to use some front-end technology. Don't get me wrong, I love Drupal, but Drupal's great at storing content, but when it comes to like dynamic stuff like that, sometimes it's just better to do it in the front end. And it's also much cheaper to find developers as well. And with all the latest AI stuff, you can just use AI to kind of figure it out. It's like, you know what? I'll do that as a video. Just use AI to kind of build out these screens, build out the front end. That might actually be a fun little video. Anyway, hope everyone has a great weekend. I've got a fun weekend watching Bathurst. Uh, For people who don't know, it's a motor race, but in Australia. And I'm no longer living in Australia, so I need to watch it at a weird time here. Anyway. All right, well, if you have any questions, chuck them in down the bottom of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time or next week. Bye-bye.